Burnout. With us this week, everyone's favourite, Curry Kitten.
Hello. I thought Jack was doing the intros. Look, he's all sad and
And for
depressed
once
now.
not doing the intro, Jack.
Hello.
I was everybody's favorite.
And everyone's new favourite, Zorro.
Hey!
And myself, Stephen. Hello, everyone.
Hello, welcome. Curry, disclaimer. Stephen, press the button.
Press the button. Any views expressed by any guests on this show are personal and may not reflect the views of others, and anything about legal aspects of stuff, we don't know. Consult a lawyer or something. Thank you.
Safety notice, do not be on fire.
Oh, don't be on fire. Yeah, rule 0.
Yeah, do not leave lipos unattended.
So, this week we are joined by Zorro, who's got a pretty interesting story. Does FPV, does art. He's had an interesting journey into the hobby. Zorro, do you want to tell people a little bit about yourself?
Well, everyone, my name is Zorro. I make, for the past 4 years, I've been making videos on YouTube, but I wanted to kind of make more lighthearted outside of normal drone stuff. So, yeah, I've been making videos. I do art. I've been doing graffiti since '93, and now I do canvases and whatnot. And I'm a designer, and I love my cat.
That video of where you gave your mum some art and she didn't like it, that broke my heart.
When I gave my mom my canvas, and she laughed at it.
Hard as hell.
Yeah, that was
that.
Yeah.
Oh my god, my heart bleeds.
So
Yeah,
how did you make the
that's how I grew
transition
up,
from art into
Thanks,
FPV?
guys.
Because on the face of it, you imagine they might have it happening near each other, but there's not an obvious overlap. So how did you discover FPV?
You said, how did I go from graffiti to art?
FPV into FPV.
Yeah.
In general.
Sure. So I loved RC cars since I used to put together. I don't know if you guys remember the Grasshopper, if you have it over there. They used to sell this kit,
The old Tamiya
put
stuff.
together. Yeah, totally. So I've been into that forever. And then I worked at Pandora, and so I used to take an RC car to work and put a GoPro on it, and then go down the hallways and record, because that was not really a thing. And then my boss was like, "Oh, you like RC stuff? I fly FPV." And then for me, drones were really. I didn't know what FPV was, so for me, drones was the Mavic style type experience.
Yeah, more sedate experience.
Yeah. And I was like, I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't sound fun. So he let me try his tiny whoop. He had a tiny whoop, and we went to a conference room in the office, and he let me try it, and I was like, I don't quite get it. It's goggles, whatever. But then I got bored. I was like, let me try this FPV thing, and I went and I got goggles and the radio and a pre-built. I think it was the, oh my god, what was it? The 250 something. It was really old, in this case that came with it. And then I just started kind of flying. I don't know. It's weird also because it's the reason why I started making videos. It just gave me a reason to kind of express myself, and it just went on from
viewpoint.
There.
An interesting viewpoint to see the world by.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jack's trying to set off some fireworks here, because this is what we do when people give us money on the channel to acknowledge their support. And Jack, it looks like, has hastily taped together a bunch of fireworks.
Oh my god!
I guess it must be around about £2 per firework, because he's taped 5 of them together. And yep, there we are. It's looking quite warm in Jack's house right now. Quite warm.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
this is why, despite the generous donations, we don't ever break even, because we spend all our money on fireworks instead.
Yeah. Even bulk buying never quite break even.
But
people liking your editing skills, by the way.
Are you doing some of the drone stuff professionally now? Because I saw you when you were talking about doing a shoot and getting devoured by mosquitoes and poisoning oak and stuff. So is that a big proportion of your time?
So last year, almost about this time, I couldn't take working anymore. Like I've been designing for like 20 years, and I had like I
Thanks,
don't know,
Kyle.
I would be creative, yeah, like um, and I went through this like really weird period, and I kind of like put a pause on everything. Um, sorry, what was the question? I totally forgot.
It's about your commercial flying.
Oh yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
So, one of the people I used to work with, his wife works in production for like PBS and Salesforce and whatever, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
she needed a drone pilot, and her husband knew that I flew because I would fly like in the office and stuff. So they hooked us up. So while I took a break, she's like, "Hey, we need someone in like 2 weeks. Can you fly for like a broadcast like documentary?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." So I rushed on and I took my 107 test. I studied for like 2 days, like nonstop, like day and night. And then the next day, I went and took my 107. I passed it, and then I've been doing like commercial drone stuff for like about a year now.
Wow. So is that like a main income, or is it that plus the art?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that plus the art. Um,
Sounds like
I
an
don't know
awesome way
why.
to live, man.
I mean, it is, but I like I made a lot of money in my regular job, and there's
Yeah.
no way to
There's a
make
bit of a
up.
gap.
Like,
Mm.
yeah, like I would have to fly drones like every single day, and you know what I mean. So, this past year has been great, and I've been like focusing on what I want to do, and like cultivated all these like little things happening. But like I could just like switch over real quick and like bring my life back together, just because it's like
Yeah.
I've been living kind of
You could do like two
like a
days a week
gypsy,
of
you know?
UX design and be like, "Yeah, bills are paid, it's all good." And then,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it definitely made me appreciate uh, people that only do that for a living. Like if you have to rely on your
Yeah.
art or whatever, it's so hard, man. It's
It
crazy.
looks like you've really got to
Taxes.
travel at the drop of a hat as well. It's like you just don't know where you're going to be at any time because you could be 1,000
Yeah,
miles away tomorrow.
yeah. And what's funny is when once I started getting to know FPV and making videos, whatever. I guess the next step was like to do it professionally, and it's not the way that I imagined it isn't quite as glamorous as in reality. Like I imagine like you're on set and it's like super cool. It is really cool actually. It's a really cool experience, but you're you're part of the crew. Like you're lugging your stuff up to wherever you have to go. Like you have to be ready on the drop of a hat to like, get the shot that the director wants. It's just like it's a lot of pressure, which is actually the fun part, I think, the adrenaline kind of like part. But it's also a lot of traveling and eating, crappy food because
Mm.
you're out. You know what I mean? And like waiting around, like especially for my stuff, like I'll wait for 6 hours and then like fly for like 2 minutes. You know what I mean? It's
Is it
pretty crazy.
difficult to guess what the other person wants to see? Because most people, they're freestyling, they're just filming what they want to see, what they think is fun. But if you're on a shoot,
Yeah.
you've got to imagine what someone else wants you to film, and that could
Mhm.
be completely different for them from what is the fun and natural maneuvers you might do.
Totally.
How do you do
Yeah.
that?
It's 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 extremely hard because sometimes they want a thing that's like really outside of the realm of possibilities. They're just imagining they're like, oh, you come from whatever.
You can go and like power loop and then go straight in through the window
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
won't crash and you'll go down there and then
yeah,
through
yeah,
the other window and then you power loop that all in one shot, right? And
yeah,
you're like,
yeah,
no,
totally.
that's going to take like 100 props to do. That's going to
Yeah,
be here all day.
yeah. I was on the shoot. They're like, can you get the Bay Bridge from here? And I was like, in San Francisco, I was like miles away, like 10 miles away. I'm like, like no concept of. But I guess if you don't know, you don't know, right? I mean, we
Right,
we know
right.
about drones because that's what we do. But if you didn't, you would just not know the
Assume that it's
capabilities.
an all-powerful invisible force.
I
It's like Jesus
remember
with a camera.
I remember on like one of Tommy's latest videos on Deadly Catch, they
Yeah,
wanted
that was
him
good.
to like fly backwards and pan out, and it's like, yeah, we angle the GoPro, so Like
Yeah.
it doesn't really work like that, you know.
Right.
I can fly backwards, but I have to like go down at the same time.
Yeah,
That only
exactly.
works for so long.
It's actually made me appreciate like dual control drone setup a lot. Like it makes more sense to have like the Inspire, right? You can have like two pilots, one's flying the drone and the other one's controlling the camera. So you have like way more control because trying to do everything at once, like as a pilot, especially because I also fly like Mavics for work, like that type of a drone. And it's just, I don't know, just have limited capabilities.
What's your take on
Yeah.
this whole like, let's slap the most expensive camera we can on like an Octo? It seems to be kind of a trend right now. Everyone's going for these
The Komodo.
XA.
Everyone wants
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Komodo setup, don't
And the
they?
red and the.
I just saw a guy here who in the UK who's designing like a naked Blackmagic Pocket 4K, which is on the lower end, but still quite an expensive camera compared to a GoPro. Everyone's
yeah.
gone nuts for this stuff.
It is. But the shots that you get are pretty amazing.
Mm.
It just, I don't know, if you have like $20,000 worth of equipment, like flying, that's
Yeah.
gonna be good. You know what I mean?
You have a
That's-
proper lens instead of something that's like half an inch thick. That's just like
Right.
a cell
Yeah.
phone camera, pretty much.
Mm.
Does flying commercial, and I saw some of your videos that sort of suggested like I can't rip as good as I used to because
Yeah.
I keep worrying about damaging my drones. Does it also take away the enjoyment you get from regular flying, or is because once you make sort of a hobby a bit of a job, then do the two sort of merge, and is there a crossover there, or can you still have fun basically?
No, doing it professionally stole my excitement or happiness for flying. Like it totally killed it. It completely killed 100%. Like I didn't want to fly at all. Not only because I don't want to break my stuff, but it's like I don't know. It's true. It actually made me think of like how excuse the comparison, but like how like porn stars might be, where you're doing this thing all day long, and like it probably robs you from like enjoying it otherwise. You know what I mean? And same with doing it professionally with drones, man. Oh God, I'm seriously. If it wasn't actually for me going out and flying with like my friend Ian or like getting like kind of back into it, I think I would have probably just lost it a few times. You know what I mean? Of like just not caring about it anymore. Yeah.
How do you salvage that? Have you found a way?
My channel really helps me like stay in line because like people expect certain things, and I know that I'm going to have to fly a drone at some point. You know what I mean? Like it's just, I don't know. You know,
When you rediscover ways to make it fun, though, does your channel like remind you that it can be fun, or does the channel just this guy that's knocking on your door saying, "Do another video, do another video"?
Both. Yeah. It can be a nagging thing. Do another video, for sure. But eventually, I get back into it. Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you actually that creative, or is the pressure of like what you do for work and having the YouTube force you down that road? Because like, I struggle with that a bit.
Pokey. Oh, Pokey FPV says that I'm the Ron Jeremy of FPV. Thank you, Pokey.
Yeah. That's not a good thing, though.
What? Well, yeah, now, but he was a
Back in the
beloved
day.
character for a long time.
Yeah.
He turned a little dark towards the end. So for me, okay, a lot of people that have YouTube channels can put on their YouTube personality and do whatever. But for me, it's like I'm being myself, and I don't have that kind of like facade, you know what I mean, of like a YouTube
You
channel.
don't have like
kind
a
of thing.
video you and a
It's just me,
at home you.
Yeah, it's me being silly and having fun, and that's always like the best. If I try to go outside of that and force myself, it's never good. Like it just doesn't resonate. I don't feel good about it. You know what I mean? So I have to be into it to actually do it. I can't just put on my makeup and my wigs and just go on YouTube. Yeah.
That's interesting. Do you think that comes from kind of having art as the place where you started out rather than trying to be an influencer and trying to have that persona like I think maybe a bunch of people do?
So I think that although, first of all, like drone video, our industry, if you want to call it, it's really small. Like some of the most popular drone FPV pilots, or even drone pilots, wouldn't have the same. Would be a lot bigger if their channel was about anything. Now, drones just kind of
Yeah.
like makes the audience a lot smaller as it is. Um,
If they were just playing the
so
latest video game, they'd have an audience that's like 1,000 times
exactly,
larger.
exactly, yeah, yeah. So I don't know where we're going with that. I totally forgot again, but
No
Like,
worries.
does like
And
FPV limits, like sort of shoehorned you into a box? I'm guessing.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't think so because it's a part of me that uh, brings out. I don't know. My channels are around more of like the drone thing. Although I do art on it sometimes, I do whatever. It's kind of like the cornerstone. So I always have to go back to doing drone stuff, which is good. I think it's great. It kind of pushes me
you also
to
describe
try it.
yourself as a psychonaut.
Yeah.
Do you want to kind of unpick what that means to you?
Hmm? Um, I used to rave in the early '90s. I got into like rave parties here in the Bay Area, San Francisco, and, it's an experience, right, with a lot of substances and mind expanding things. So I've always been into that for a long time. Then took a long break of like maybe like a decade of not doing any psychedelics or anything. And because towards the end, I had a long addiction problem with like methamphetamine, like in the back in those days, because one thing led to another, and I was like super skinny and homeless and like horrible. Like I was a totally different person back then. You would not want to know that guy. But so I've always been into to the kind of like substance thing, and then after a long time, I and some life changes, like I got a divorce, like a whole bunch of things that kind of reset who I was. You know what I mean? Um, then I saw like, oh, people are doing mushrooms to help depression, and people are, you know what I mean? It's becoming of a more of an accepted thing. It's not so underground anymore.
Not so
So
demonized anymore as well.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Like so stupidly demonized as well. Um, so for me, I was like, like maybe I'll just try it a little bit, just to see what it's like. And then I just like I got back into being able to like explore that part without being because my point of the addiction thing was I was also doing like psychedelics and whatnot, and things kind of like my trips started getting dark and weird like towards the end. So when I stopped for like 10 years, that was my last memory of psychedelics was like really bad, crazy trips. And I was like a little weirded out to try it again. But then I used it back into it. I was like, oh man, this is freaking amazing. Like I feel so much better. Like my brain works better. Um, and then I started trying like DMT.
Thanks, Win.
Oh yeah. And that was like crazy. If you guys go to my channel, I have my most popular videos about DMT. And it was, yeah, I love the idea of like who we really are. I mean, I don't want to get into this because I'm going to go on forever, but we're in this
No, man,
situation
it's
on,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we don't know who we are, right? As far as like
Right.
humans, like we don't know where we came from. We don't know where we're going. We're floating in space on, on Earth. This thing. We don't know if anybody else is out there. It's like a movie scenario, like a Black Mirror type of, right? You know what I mean? It's like a strange scenario. But what's funny is like we all have made our lives like our day to day and totally don't think about that. Like nobody's freaking out. Like why are we here? You know what I mean? So for me,
Ennui is
anything
a
that explores
bitch,
that,
as they say.
yeah. So for me, exploring that, I think it's I think it's like who we really are. We come from a different place. We're here on Earth for a while, and then we go back to wherever. And for me, that is really interesting, and I love exploring outside of like just this. Cause,
Like thinking about thinking.
Exactly. Yeah.
I was gonna raise the kind of specter of FPV and maybe kind of issues and the way that it helps people. And I think it's kind of not spoken about, but there's definitely a lot of people here in this community, like myself included, who find FPV helps them in one way or another. Like it makes you feel like you're a freaking bird and you don't have any stress anymore. It makes you, just get away from whatever's bugging you, because all of a sudden you're up above the trees and you're moving at 80 mile an hour, and who gives a fuck, right? It's empowering. That's going to be problems for our editor there.
You leave your body, dude. So one of the things
it's a very literal out of body experience, isn't it?
It really is. Yes,
as far as you define escapism, I am locked here in this crappy reality where maybe I've got problems down here, and then all of a sudden you're not. All of a sudden you're a bird, except you're doing like 80 miles an hour, and there's not a lot of birds that do that. And you're flipping upside down and screaming along. It's escapism, and there's definitely an aspect that's kind of healing about that to help you get away from things that are bugging you.
Yeah. But also, so that was one of the first key moments that I've ever, like with FPV, that it hit like a different note with me. It's like I was flying at Tiny Whoop, and then I turned around and I looked at myself flying, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, my brain, like my consciousness is on this drone right now, and I'm looking at like a shell of a person, like, you know what I mean? Because I can't like adjust myself while I'm flying. You know what I mean? Like my body at least is like locked in, is like a shell mechanically doing stuff. But it seems like your consciousness is like now transferred on a robot. It's like, what are we doing, dude? It's crazy. It's pretty nuts.
Do you think that fits in with the art to a certain extent?
Oh yeah, everything. It is art in a way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, not a lot of people want to watch their mates' freestyle videos, but it's undeniably still art. I mean, if someone filming themselves playing a video game is art, then freestyle definitely is.
Yeah.
There's a little side note to this thing about the out-of-body experience, and one of the funniest things for me is I'd set up a camera because I wanted to do some flybys, and I could see myself in the sticks, and I did not know the weird amount that I would move, and we used to call it the Turnigy lean, where you just get into this position. And filming other people, they're completely different. Some of them go into this little fetal position. It's really funny because they've got their really good patch antennas sticking out, and then the first thing they do is put their head into the ground where the reception is going to be awesome. And you just
all the time.
It's like these Stevie Wonder sort of flies. It's fantastic. I could film that more than drones sometimes.
You spend a couple of $100 on expensive patch antennas, and what do you do?
Yeah, look at that, dude. My head will drift up, like, so I'm like landing, and I'm like looking up, and now
because this is like.
While I'm flying, I'm like, dude, your head's high up, but I'm like trying to adjust my head while I'm flying, and it's like impossible. I'm like, it's like being in a dream where you can't quite do the thing that you're trying to do.
Turn over there. No, over there. No. Where is it?
I don't know how.
I remember, like back in the day when we used to fly with Tony and that, like. We would race, and I'd find myself leaning forward to go faster, and it's like doesn't work like that.
And we must anybody that's done race gates for the first time must have done it. Just like if you're not quite getting under, that's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah, totally.
So you crouch when you come up to the race gate.
Yeah.
It's like bowling, isn't it? You see someone who's doing, they like throw the bowling ball, and 5 seconds later they're leaning over enough to almost fall over.
Doing the little.
It's the same symptom.
I don't know how it was for you guys, but the very first time I flew on goggles, I didn't get the sort of the instant feeling of quite being
Good
connected
ring.
to the quad. It took a couple of goes because at the start my brain was still with me, and so when I turned my head and nothing happened on the camera position,
You get annoyed by it.
you got sort of a brain fart, and it's like, oh, what's happening? This is not right. A couple of flights in, and it just clicks. But those couple of first flights are really weird. A really weird mental place for your head to be. It's like you're sort of kind of out of it, but not. You're not
Have you
there,
done
and
any
you're not
pan
here.
and tilt stuff? Wonder what you'd be like with pan and tilt.
Oh, I'm only on a plane. That's absolutely fine. But I didn't get into fixed wing until I'd done like loads of flights on the dodgy tricopter. But by that time, I could just. I'm no longer in a weird place. But I did the weirdest thing I tried. I did this experiment once. I had an old, cheap, nasty 450 style quad, and at the time the KK2 board. This is how old it was. You could attach it to a servo, and thus every time you leant forward, the camera position would change. And the idea was, oh, that's good because you'll always be able to see. Completely screwed my brain up because we work out our altitude and everything based around like positional references we're getting from a camera, and when you start moving that camera up and down, it's fine if you're like on a Mavic, but if you're on a fast quad like a couple of feet off the ground, it's like, oh, my brain can't. I couldn't work out my altitude at all. I was just hitting the ground and all sorts. It was terrible. You should all try it as a fun and interesting experiment to do.
Has anyone actually toppled over while they were flying?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
I know a couple
really?
of people. Yeah. And that's the reason why I don't fly standing up. I can lean up against something and fly fine. But it's like it's so immersive for me. Like I try to tell myself, like, you're just looking at a monitor. You know what I mean? Like, so I can like stand and do it. But I get so like immersed in what's happening that like even like watching sometimes like FPV videos, like I can feel myself like tilting, you know what I mean? So every time I try to fly standing up, I can feel like I have to hold myself back from tilting forward, you know? And I'm like, that's too much. I can't.
Danger.
Yeah. Standing down, yeah. And I watch like Mr. Steele like standing on top of a tower with like a little platform, like standing, you know, doing.
He does climbing and stuff. That guy's got some crazy reflexes, I'm sure. But yeah, when I fly, if I'm just cruising along doing cinematic stuff, it's okay. But if I'm doing flips and rolls, I've got to be leaning against a wall or leaning against a tree, because otherwise I feel myself start to go. And if I don't have a point of reference, I've staggered a couple of times and stumbled. I've yet to fall on my face, but it's come really close, really, really close.
Yeah, and that's, you don't want that.
No.
That's
why do you have new DJI goggles, Stephen? Don't ask. I face planted trying to do a power loop. Power loop was fine, but I fell on my face.
And then you have like a bruise of like the goggle outline on your face. Yeah, totally.
I've fallen down a badger hole while standing up because like there was a badger hole next to me, and I like adjusted my foot and went straight down into it. That was pretty horrible.
Have you ever tried moving in the camera? I was flying around and I realised I was standing in between two trees, and I thought, oh, that would be awesome to fly through. So I positioned my quad in front of myself and then attempted to move out of the way, and of course I went in the completely wrong direction. Because no, that's not right. It should be this way. It's really weird. Really weird.
It really is.
I suggested we should do a whole thing where we have a foot race, where we start at one end of a field and we have to fly quads, filming ourselves, and whilst in the goggles, run to the other end without dying. I think that would be an interesting, fun race to do.
I don't think it's possible.
Has anyone tried
it would be fun to try.
Navigate with the camera on the quad? Like you pick up the quad and you just like try and walk around.
Yeah, that I can do. Yeah. I can do that a little better.
I've used it to test in my garden when it's pitch black and this camera says it's night vision. If the neighbours could see me, I'm wandering around the garden with a pair of goggles on, holding this quad where I can't see, and saying things like, "Oh, this is good. I can't see there in my eyes."
I remember that,
like
filming down the edge of your house and stuff.
Yeah, where it's super dark. Yeah.
Oh my word. God, your neighbours must think you're absolutely nutty.
Well, they do keep moving out. Perhaps it's because there's some nutter that lives next door. I don't know.
It's a strange screaming, whirring noise every minute. They can't figure out what's going on. They go out there, though, and there's nothing out there. They just hear this whole... What's happening?
In the middle of the night.
It's true.
That's
me.
Foxes are wild.
Oh, Virgin's here, y'all.
Who?
Virgin.
Hello.
Virgin
Virgin
FPV.
FPV. Hello.
Virgin is fucking amazing. There he is. Virgin was it? If you guys don't know Virgin,
Is it? Did Radio Master name their little transmitter after you? Do you think?
I think
Mind you,
yes.
it's 2 E's.
I think yes, subconsciously they did, and they didn't know. I'm just kidding. No, people do. I get.
Did you meet a Radio
congratulations.
Master rep at any point? Do they comment on the feel?
Dude, I get all these like congratulatory messages on on Facebook, like congrats on the radio, man. You know, like dude, so I save them and like I show my friends. It's so hilarious.
You should make a little wall of them.
They're so
There you go.
embarrassed
Yeah.
to make that
Oh, there
typo,
it
and they
is.
didn't get your name quite right.
Hey,
How
look,
dare
Make
they?
a
look how
little
they just
skin for
plopped
the
it.
radio that's got like a little goatee that hangs around below the screen. Just
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yes, please. Also, if just so your audience knows, because my videos are a little different on YouTube, as far as like drone videos go, and I started. So when I first started FPV, I noticed there was a very elitist kind of like thing with pilots, and to me that was really funny because I wasn't in the industry. It was almost like watching like LARPing people like talk, you know what I mean, like brag about, which is fine, right? But then you're kind of laughing at it because you're not a part of it, and you're like, that's silly, you know what I mean? You're just flying a drone, like calm down. So for me, I really wanted to make a channel that's like anti that, where I get to be myself, doing stupid shit stuff. You know, the edits are like really different, like awkward, or you know what I mean, like funny. So to me, like it was a way to that if somebody wanted to come into FPV, they knew that it's not all like that. You know what I mean? You could feel comfortable like being yourself.
there is a bit of a kind of Napoleon Dynamite vibe sometimes.
Yeah,
where people convinced they're so cool.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that.
The FPV life, me old.
FPV life,
Well,
man.
yeah, I liked it. The reason I liked some of your videos that I was catching up with today is because, firstly, it's not all about the flying. It's mostly about you and making vlogs and having a good laugh out with friends and stuff. And secondly, and I think you said it in one of your videos, that watching a really good freestyle is sometimes slightly unwatchable. It's like if anybody's seen a really good FPV racer, you can appreciate the skill, but it's like, oh, geez, I can't watch this. It's just like it's not watchable. So I prefer to see, you know, someone having, you know, and showing plenty of your crashes, hitting bits of car park and stuff, and just you know, having a laugh and sort of talking about what's going on. I think that's much, well, in my opinion, much more interesting. Just pure, here is some flying. Look at me do lots of little tiny whizzy whizzes around trees,
absolutely,
and bits and pieces and stuff.
I was talking to my friend Ian that I go and fly with. He's pretty much like the only person that I go and fly with. Just because I'm weird. Like I don't like new people. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I'm just kind of weird like that. I'm kind of like private when it comes to like kicking it with people. But I was talking to him, you know, I get a lot of messages, like a lot of people telling me, hey, you know, I've been like depressed and your video like made my day. Thank you. You know what I mean? Like I get a lot of those. And it really kind of helped me, especially lately, be able to focus on that part, like the fun, uplifting kind of part, instead of like trying to make myself look like I'm awesome and, you know, I'm an artist and I'm, you know, a drone pilot and all this shit. It's like, I don't like if I feel like it has, like I'm actually making a tiny bit of a better difference in the world, and it makes me feel good. Like at least, even though I don't have my shit together, and I don't know what I'm doing with my life sometimes, you know, like I know that this one thing that I do that I really enjoy is actually like making other people feel better. And nowadays, like even a little relief, even for like 10 minutes, if you can just have really, like I've gone through so many crazy life experiences, like tough, really tough shit. And sometimes like just a minute of relief from like thinking about your problems, from all this stuff happening all around you, like it's a pretty big deal. So it's not, I just it fulfills me a little bit, I think, to
Oh, that
feel.
sounds really good. And I think in some ways the YouTube economy kind of slowing down a bit, which I think it has over the last couple of years, has
Mhm.
perhaps been a good thing, but it allows people to get back to reality instead of trying to build their
Yeah,
followings, constantly pushing, 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 constantly looking for new products, pushing the products,
yeah.
more thumbnails, It's just,
Don't diss
it's
the
nice
thumbnail.
to. He's got a good thumbnail game, as Carrie. He's got some strong faces he pulls, so yeah.
Mm.
That's it.
Well,
Smiley,
yeah,
sad, thoughtful.
yeah.
That's it. That's my repertoire.
Nice.
But it's nice to
Uh,
see people be a bit more honest. And like going through COVID, I think everyone had a bit more
yeah,
time with themselves to sort of face these things. Like you can't just brush it under the rug when you're sat with yourself 24 hours a day, right? You just got to,
yes.
deal with it. And that's nice.
Totally.
Yeah, it's healthy rather than just like being in the rat race, whether it's YouTube rat race or work rat race or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree.
Sorry, got all serious there, guys. We should put a knob put a knob joke in if in doubt.
Knob
I
joking,
found a
good.
drone that looked like a wanger.
No, do you want to?
Hold on, we got a question coming just in time. Clown FPV says, question for you, Zorro. You used to always ask the viewers in your vlogs, "Is this what you want?" Ever figure that out?
I There was a period of time that I used to scream like, "Is that what you want?" Like as a thing. I don't know where it came from. It became a thing, and everybody was saying it back to me. Is that what you want? So it was like, yeah. I used to do so many fun things before I did drones professionally. I want to do a video like, do not like if you love flying drones, don't ever do professionally. Just you know, yeah, it takes the fun out of everything, guys.
Yeah, yeah, I do IT, and I've kind of I was really enthusiastic about it until someone asked me to actually, okay, now go do that.
Yeah, you're like, oh
And
god.
the reality of it is, you're never going to be able to do it properly. It's all a
Mhm.
compromise. It's all.
Mhm.
Probably get an empathetic nod from Curry on that one. He's free of
Well,
that now.
now it took me 2 years before I enjoyed looking at computers in a fun way again. And it's mainly corporate stuff's mainly about you can't just get stuff done because you have to have a bunch of meetings about it, and then somebody wants a chart and a PowerPoint, and it just goes downhill from there, doesn't it? Let's face it.
Mhm.
Oh,
Thank you, Sean.
It's nice. Yeah, you've got to keep your hobbies separate from work, I think. The hobbies have got to be something that it allows you to escape from your 9 to 5.
It's hard though because when
Else
you
you keep.
love it so much, like especially when I first started flying FPV, I was like addicted in a way that a few things have ever done that in my life. Where like that's all I think about, like obsessed. I would
Mm.
like trying to have a regular job while being obsessed with FPV. Is like that's why I really enjoyed working with my ex boss, now friend from Pandora, because we got to both like go out at lunch, like to try to squeeze a couple flights in.
Right.
Um, but it's crazy addicting. I don't know. It just consumes.
I was quite jealous of one of our offices over, I've forgotten where it was now. Over in Boston, just north of Boston, we used to have an office up there we shared with HP.
Mm,
And they used to have a whole bunch of space out back, and they go and fly planes at lunch and fly some micro quads and stuff. And I went out there,
that's
I was like,
awesome.
geez, you guys do this at lunch. Son of a
Yeah, that's
bitch.
awesome. It's such a good balance. Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's nice to be able to do that because, like, in London, it's like, okay, you can go from this one box where you're working to this other box and go to the gym, or you go to the other box and queue up for food. It's like, it's not a lot of green spaces around here. And yeah, I was
Yeah.
pretty jealous when I found out they could just go and like fly planes around for a half hour and then go
Mm,
pick up a slice of pizza and go back to the desk.
yeah.
Easy life.
But the obsession of FPV made me think that I would want to do it all day long. which I did, but like it's different again, like for hobby versus not.
Well, that's kind of the
So-
upskilling level, right? When you're learning so fast, you're going from crashing into stuff all the time to all of a sudden, oh, I can fly a whole pack. Oh, I can fly like 10 packs. Oh, I can now do stunts. Oh, I can do really cool stunts. Oh, I'm like crashing way bigger than I was at the start all of a sudden.
Yeah, totally. But also being able to, like, I remember how frustrating it was when I first started flying because I couldn't even like take off. It was like constantly like bouncing off the
Everyone
floor,
does that.
like-
You ever see
Yeah.
a kid try and learn like throttle control on a car? It's the same thing when they're like bunny hop along the road. Stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start.
Well, because like you don't know, you think like, oh, pull the throttle up, and you're like, bring it to like full. You know what I mean? You just think like, oh, that's not.
Yeah.
But then you start learning how delicate the movements are that need to happen, you know, to make it smooth. And then
Left foot braking.
yeah, exactly. But it was really frustrating. I felt like I didn't have control of what I was doing. Like even starting to fly, like sometimes I'd start flying backwards and like I didn't know where I was, like landing in the tree. You know what I mean? So it takes a while. They got for Sims, and I use this horrible simulator that's like it came with a CD-ROM and like a dongle, and I was actually there were no other simulators, but they had like a map or like a Phantom looking drone that you're actually flying. I just wanted to get the controls down because they're not like anything else you can compare with. Like I could give
Curry,
you
can you identify this sim?
yes.
Curry is a
me?
sim author and he's been
A
around the block.
CD and a dongle
Yeah.
could have been Phoenix.
Came with
That
a
was-
Carter
that was a-
95.
Yeah,
Big thing back in the day.
yeah, and I found it yesterday. I found it in my little
Phoenix.
stuff, and I found the CD with a little. I was like, oh my god, horrible! But it really did help me be able to, because I knew that all it would take is to have the controls be like a second nature, where it's like muscle memory. You know what I mean? And to get to that, you need to do it enough. But when you start flying, you can't fly enough to be able to progress fast enough, I think. You know what I mean? So, like, you get to actually practice without needing to, like, break everything. Yeah, and then I crashed. Actually, when I was learning, I flew over this lake that my in-laws live at, and a few of my videos take place there. And then I lost my drone in the lake.
How many quads are in that lake?
Just
How
one.
many of your quads? Just one. Oh, you
Yeah,
learn
yeah,
fast.
that
Okay.
one. Yeah. And after that too, I just like I faced my
Magnet
fears.
fishing.
Like now I fly like underneath all the awnings and all the like pier stuff. Like it really helped me. Like I love flying over water because of that. Just because I was like so trying to fly over the lake. But yeah, I lost my drone there, and I don't swim. I'm not like a swimmer at all. And when I lost it, I took off my stuff and like went in the lake, like trying to find my drone. Dude, I looked for it for so many years, and it was always this big mystery. Like, what? Sometimes I even question, like, did it even happen? Like, was it just like, where is this drone? It's not.
X-Files
couldn't have
music
been that
plays.
far. Yeah, and every time I would go to my in-laws' house, I would look over at the lake, nothing. And then, like a few
Titanic.
months ago, or like last year, I was walking by the lake, and there it was. It's just like washed up 3 years later. It's pretty.
How was it? Do you have it?
Got it. You don't forget to describe it.
It's like a Hollywood moment. Jesus. Wow.
I didn't clean it, but this is it.
Oh,
The session's still on there,
thing
dude.
of beauty.
Isn't it? Yeah.
like
Did you get the
archaeology.
SD card
It's
out of it?
amazing.
Yeah. And I don't know. I just can't. I can't.
Wow.
I don't want to like clean it. I don't want to
It's
preserve
like an
it.
art installation now.
That is
I know,
that is
it's-
art. That is art right there.
Yeah. But you guys, it's so weird because it's been like a really big thing. Like wondering what happened to the freaking drone, and then just walking up one day, I looked down and it was right in front of me. And
You could
like,
set
it
that in a
took-
block of clear resin for future generations to
yeah,
see.
in the museum.
Preserve
yeah,
it.
It was such a surreal moment. I'm like, is this? Oh my god, that's my drone. It's crazy.
Is that
How many years
Vortex
was
2?
it down there?
3. It was down for 3 years.
Yes. this. Wow.
And I have a video about it. And actually, I pulled the SIM card out and I retrieved the footage from it of like the crash, and I was like, "Oh,
Can you
that's
play it
why
to
I."
us now?
Can I play it for you?
Yeah, it's. Have you got
You
it
can do
on
like a share
YouTube?
thing on the bottom if you have the
If you
video.
got, I can share the link.
Yeah,
with you guys,
put the
but
link in the chat.
my
and
internet's
the chat
probably
and
not
chat will make
the
it
best.
happen.
All right,
Yeah,
Yeah, my other screen isn't.
I can do it.
Okay.
It's one of the videos I saw before, actually. Let me have a look, see if I can get it on for you.
Thanks, guys. That'll
There
be.
you There you go.
These days, everyone's all about the Sims, but I have to say, when I started learning, I smashed one frame to pieces at least 10 times, and it was a very light quad. It was a QAV 105, which is a micro version of the full size QAV, and I pasted that thing across the landscape so many times. But I rebuilt it, and the thing is still flying. It's got an F3 with a dodgy AIO. And I've still got umpteen spare frames because I was buying those frames every week. Oh,
yeah.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah, this is it. This is
Here
the
we
lost
go.
footage. And I think I'm flying on Horizon mode as well. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks a little bit wobbly bobbly.
Looks like it's kind of fighting you a little bit.
Oh, man.
There's some birds around there. Was that the reason for crashing?
Yeah, it's the bird's fault.
No.
For sure.
No.
I remember this from years ago.
Oh, sketchy crash.
That's the good thing about GoPros. They record the whole underwater session for you
So
as well.
it was recording for like almost like an hour, and I have so much footage of fish going by. I just pulled a couple of like seconds of fish, but I have like an hour worth of footage of like fish fly or like swimming by.
Can you upload it as a really calming video, just in a 4K Zorro's fish experience?
Yeah, I used to, and I still do this sometimes when the lake is clear. Yeah,
that's a big fish.
So because at the lake they fish, right? But I love fishing. I just don't like hooking the fish and terrorizing them. So what I like to do, which is more
if you're not
enjoyable,
going to eat them,
yeah, I put a GoPro on like a lure
on the fish
or on string. Just like a GoPro hanging from a string, and then I'll tie like a piece of hot dog right above it, so the fish are attracted to it. And I throw it in the lake, and fish will like come. You know what I mean? And then you get to check them out and stuff. I kind of like that better.
So you're not hurting fish; you're just kind of curving on them a little bit, more of a fish curve.
I'm a fish voyeur.
Well, the video that really done me was when you flew your quad into your face
on a professional drone shoot with everybody watching.
I was going to say everyone's done it, but not when they're paid to do it.
Well, I have another video. You guys should go check it out. But
hang on, I'll paste it.
Oh, not right now, but yeah. So it was like my turn to fly, and we were at the San Francisco Mint, which is like one of the oldest historic buildings where they used to mint, money. It is really old and, whatever. So they're doing all these crazy, nice shots everywhere. And then it's my turn, and I have to follow these people down a hallway. And I'm using like a small drone. And so I'm tracking them, right? Everybody's like, okay, quiet. Quiet on the set. Director's like, okay, go. Like, so I'm sitting down, and there's the whole crew, everybody is just watching me, right? And I'm flying behind the people. Beautiful. It was so straight. It was so good. I was like, awesome. Then I turned back, and I got another shot of them going the other way. And then people were like, yay! They're like clapping, like, oh, that was so good, right? People were like impressed. They'd never seen FPV, so like this guy is like doing the shit. So as I'm coming back, I wanted to land on my lap because I usually do that, right? I don't want it to go on the floor. So I tried to time it so as it's falling, it falls on my lap. And because everybody was like, yay! My adrenaline was going. And
you accidentally punched it.
punched it, and he went, "Bam!" Right in front. Dude, like in front of everybody. It was hilarious. Like, and everybody went from going, "Yay!" They were like, "Oh!" Like, like concerned.
At least
So,
you didn't
you
hit
okay?
yourself in the balls. I mean, it could have been worse.
Dude, and people after were like, "Are you okay?" Like, is it, dude? So funny. But that's the whole thing. I could do a
Beautiful.
thing where I'm like, I'm going on a drone shoot. Everybody, look how cool I am. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Well,
it's
all those
whatever. And
people
now,
will remember you. Like that's going to be
yeah,
etched in their mind now.
yeah. But for me, like, I love pointing out my weaknesses. It's funny to me. Like, everybody screws up, right? Nobody's perfect, and it's funny to me when that kind of stuff happens. Like, for me, it's like YouTube gold. Like, I don't mind if I look like the ass, but it makes for a better story. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah,
oh,
it does. I think everyone's getting, well, I say everyone, I'm just assuming everyone's like me, getting a little bit worn down by kind of robotic mannequin style influencers. It's nice to be reminded that yeah, people screw up, people are human. People are
Yeah,
not
you
perfect.
are really human, especially with like the way you like put your your mistakes there, and how like what you choose to record and show is
yeah.
like thanks for that, man. Like like
Cinema
uh,
verite.
Yes.
Hitting yourself in the face with a quad.
yeah, that is mad. Do you want to cover some news articles for
I
the
was
last?
wondering. I guess we should just discuss this on air because we are
Yeah,
professionals after all. I was going to suggest Jack wanted to do a bonus pod before, and we didn't announce it. So I was going to suggest if we announce a bonus pod now, maybe we could talk about some news items because I've got a whole bunch of different items we could talk about. But I'm going to be talking over Zorro, who's got some amazing stories to tell us. So how about we do the news in the bonus pod? Does that work?
yeah, can do. I
Let's do that then.
trying to line up maybe to chat with Tommy on our bonus as well. So if you're a Patreon,
Well,
yeah,
we can cool our heels while I rattle off a bunch of BS news items. see how that goes. So yeah,
that's good,
Patreons
man.
afterwards. We're going to be doing a bonus pod, and we'll run through some news bits and pieces. Talk about the Naked Black Magic Pro 4K and Curry's Open HD experiences and other bits and pieces afterwards.
So, whilst we contemplate that, let me ask Zorro several questions all
Yeah.
at once, so you have to remember the answers.
Perfect.
First off, what was your first FPV experience? I think you said you got some Whoop. Where did you go from there? Did you start making stuff and experimenting? And also, as a bonus question, have you tried flying fixed wing FPV? And if not, why not?
Very good questions. Thank you for asking all those questions.
You're welcome.
Okay. So, what was my first experience of FPV? Is that
Yes, I mean, you mentioned having the tiny Whoop, but where did you go yourself in terms of the progression? Obviously, you got yourself a quad. When did you start sort of building things and putting stuff together? What was
Was it 2
the
hours
progression
before
in
you flew
terms
over
of
that lake, or
bits and
slightly
pieces,
earlier?
and where
yeah?
did it go?
I have a interesting thing because, like, one thing that really rubbed me the wrong way about FPV is that you had to build your own quad. And I used to build my own RC cars and I loved it and it was great. But, like, I'm like, why do you have to be? It's almost like you have to be a mechanic to drive a car. You know what I mean? And that was like the thinking, like, you have to be able to build your own stuff. So my boss that got me into FPV, he uh, I don't know. Sorry.
This is a more
Your
difficult
boss
question
who
than I
got
was
you
Yeah,
into
yeah, yeah.
anticipating.
FPV,
It's
did he
it
help
is
you build the
difficult.
drone?
So he
Or
used
is
to
there
like
another story?
no, he used to like help me. He used to like build drones, right? That was
Okay.
like his thing. He enjoyed it,
For
so
a
he
minute,
would
I
do it
thought we
for
were going to have
me.
to run the
But
disclaimer again.
yeah, and that was fine. You know what I mean? But and I could repair them, and I could still like work on them and stuff. But like I was against like needing to know how to build to fly. And And then like so I was buying a lot of pre-builds. That was kind of like my thing. And then I was getting sponsored by companies, and they were like sending me pre-builds constantly as well. But I always wanted to. So I've only built one drone in like 4 years in my whole career, like from scratch, just one. And
I hate you.
I hate it. I hate I hate it
What's
more
your
than
go-to
anything.
BNF then? What's your like daily driver?
So when I was flying analog, I was sponsored by Armatin. I mean, I still am, I guess. But so all Armatin quads were like my go-to, and I still love them. I think that was like the best.
So they ship you like a whole bind and fly.
Yeah, yeah. If whatever, or if I would crash, I'd be like, hey, I crashed. You know what I mean? Like,
Wow, that's a hell of a lot easier than having a motor sponsor.
Yeah. And I've been kind of like spoiled, but and I totally. I mean, I know how a quad works, like all the parts, and I could put it together. I just, I hate the trouble. When I started, things were not as smooth as they are now. Where like now you can just buy one of these and one of those and put them together, and it just it's gonna work. There was a lot of like voodoo magic bull crap that I hated. It's like everything is right. All the parts are in, but something's not working. So it's like having to figure out why it's not working. And when you want to fly, like it's okay if I'm in the mood to build, but like if I'm trying to fly and then there's all this like troubleshooting crap, like I just hate it. So I'd rather have somebody give me their whole.
I hear you.
Yeah, I remember the days of like you'd spend 50 to like £70 on new ESCs, and without even testing whether they work, you had to cut them open, desolder them, flash new firmware on them. You didn't even know if it worked, then solder them up, and then it would smoke a motor.
Yeah.
Like I kind of understand, but a little bit, I'm just like, is Zorro the kind of guy who's like, he breaks a motor and he just pulls out a new quad, like,
YOLO.
Like,
I just throw it in the garbage. I'm like,
like the tire blows out on his
this
car.
Armatin bag just slides in from the side of the screen.
Shot of tequila, lights the bottle on fire, and then throws it through the window, and is like, time to go to the dealer.
Yeah, totally.
There's a lot of negativity about buying and flies, but there's some fantastic models. Some of my favourites are still hanging on the wall. The Nazgul 5, the Immersion RC stuff, all the Holy Bro stuff. Amazing builds that just work out of the box.
I absolutely started on bind and flies, but I'm the sort of person that absolutely gets down in the weeds. I'm a complete fucking nerd. And so I bought a bunch of bind and flies, and I'm like, well, I don't like this about this one. I don't like that about that one.
Right.
How do I make them better? And then that was the journey for me. And now I'm kind of like, I just shop for components.
Did you ever feel like a wizard being able to like change the direction of the motor just by spinning it round? Does anyone know?
Who's that to? I feel like a wizard all the time.
Every time the Immersion RC stuff and the way they're...
Every time I realise I can see my own mustache, I feel like a wizard.
If you span the motor, you powered it up, and if you span the motor in the direction you wanted it to spin,
There was a lot of stuff in the Vortex quads that I really feel should have made it into Betaflight. Stuff like, hang on, we're detecting what sort of receiver you have. Can you move the sticks and we'll sort it out for you? And the stuff with like, spin the motor and we'll make sure that's the motor direction. It sounds like pretty useful little wizards to have in stuff like Betaflight, but it never made it there.
Yeah.
Shame.
Well, they've got kind of a motor twitch thing now in 4.3. I'd say it took them a long time, but the priority for Betaflight seemed to be on people who already knew what they were doing, which was a little bit elitist.
I feel that's still the priority.
4.3, it's like you press a button and it'll twitch the one that it thinks is that motor, and you can correct it. It's kind of where they've got to. And you can change the motor direction. It does it quite nicely. It doesn't just like give it 100% throttle. It just gives it enough to like jerk it round by a few degrees, so you can see.
And also to your question, have I ever flown a fixed wing? See how I remember that, guys? Let's just take a moment to thank you. Jack, I appreciate you. Oh, thank you. So no, I've never tried, actually. I never had a chance to. I would be down to try it for sure.
Give it a go. It might be a new, fun way of experience FPV in a whole sort of different, scary way, which is completely different to how quads feel.
It's more just like drifting along from what I see. It's kind
of... You can't see it. You have to experience it.
I've seen it for very short periods before meeting the ground again. That's my first experience.
Do yourself a favour, buy an actual 4-channel like trainer slow fly fun thing with a propeller on the back of it. Don't just buy a wing, an FPV wing.
That's 120 miles an hour.
Yeah, like, and if you do buy a wing, buy the biggest wing that you can chuck.
Really?
Yeah.
I would think a smaller one just so I have more, like,
Smaller ones are wobblier.
Yes.
About a metre.
That's what she said.
Is your sweet
That's what she
spot.
said.
Oh. Yeah.
You need to be able to launch it, Jack.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and don't give it to a quad pilot who's never launched a wing. Find someone who flies like fixed wing.
Yeah, I love the way they sound. Like, full. Yeah. I like when I first started flying, I would always look for like big open fields to go fly at, and I'm kind of glad I don't have to do that anymore. And having to go back to trying to find a big open field would be kind of an interesting thing. Is it like can a drone pilot figure it out? Like if you're flying,
yeah,
like it's not drone so pilots, outside.
Drone pilots tend to fly differently than a regular fixed wing pilot. Who would the immediate thing a normal fixed wing pilot would do is go up to about like 100 meters in American speed. That's about 300 feet and fly circles. Whereas a drone pilot would like, I'm flying this 5 feet off the ground just like I was a quad, which is more fun because then you get all this turbulence and the whole wing shaking about.
Really?
And you're like, oh my god, it's like I'm going to break up.
Very stable. That's strange. Oh, the cornering's not great.
Yeah, that's when you got the feel of it.
If you tuned it seems to wobble.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. I think everyone should try a bit of both and really
couple of mistakes high.
Oh yeah, I would love to.
Couple of mistakes high. Yeah.
I have a friend that got into, and we all fly drones. He got into planes, and he's like going to town. Like he loves it. He's building all these like models, and yeah.
One thing I noticed recently that might start me with something a bit safer is it looks like the Blue Jay guys have attracted a little PR from someone who's added brushed output. So I might dick around and put really small brush motors on broken. I've got a bunch of broken flight controllers, all-in-ones, with just a couple of working outputs, and so I might dick around with those a bit. I'm loath for my quad wing thing because I don't really know where to start. It's a lot of.
The next thing
Yeah.
I wish. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Sorry,
Caroline Taylor was like line of sight first.
Yeah, line of sight first.
Line of sight, line of schmite. Forget that.
I didn't say that, Caroline. Sorry, carry on. Sorry.
Sorry, Zorro. Please go ahead.
No problem. Oh yeah, I was the only thing that's FPV is missing from right now. Like a big part of what my videos was gorilla whooping, and that was like
expand.
That's when you go to like a mall or anywhere where there's people and stores and whatever, and you fly in there and kind of trolling the people and like trying to see if you can fly in the store. Like would go to department stores and fly around. Like some of my more popular videos and what kind of got me a little bit more out there was those, because it's I've gotten kicked out of places. Like I have a video that the lady's like screaming at me, all kinds of pretty awesome.
In an entirely like non aggressive way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the guy who would chase police cars with his RC car. No,
or like try to scare people, or like like whiz by them or whatever. No, this is more of like, I love people's reaction when they just see this like little thing flying around. They have no clue what it is. Their brain's trying to like is this you know what I mean? They don't know that drones can be that small.
I mean, if I saw it, I'd just grab the whip and be like, "Hello," and just hold
Yeah.
it until the guy came over. I
Yeah,
guess people
man.
don't do that.
I have got some excellent footage. We were at a pub and I was flying and we flew around the pub and then the bouncer was chasing after me and trying to find me, and Dom Robinson lifts up his hat and then I just land in his hat and he puts his hat back on and I just turn my goggles around and throw my transmitter in my bag, and then the bouncer's like
dude, it's so fun, bro. I
need
love
to
it.
find that footage. Oh man,
Yeah.
we're done.
But the thing that I hate, like right now, there isn't a good. So I switched over to DJI, right? And I don't fly analog anymore. And we're missing like a good actual like whoop size HD version. And I know people are like, "Oh, try this or try that." Like I'm talking about like, because tiny whoops are great because it's a brush motor usually, and they're quiet, and it just has a few characteristics. Where if you're flying like a brushless inside, it sounds different. Like it's, you know what I mean. So I wish they had a good like small form factor analog to or
You mean
digital
an
version
HD?
of the whoop.
Because I mean, like a naked Vista is still chunky. You know, that's
Yeah,
still
that's
so
like
low spec.
like you can't fly that in the store around people without. The problem,
Well, you
like
can carry
escalates.
it, but you need like a 2S to really get it moving, and then your props sound like screaming banshees, and
Exactly.
people will notice that.
Yeah. So that's what I miss, and I don't want to do. I was thinking about putting analog setup on my goggles so I can fly my tiny whoop, but analog looks so bad. Like it looks so horrible. Like even
What's
for
your
a
take on
tiny whoop,
HD Zero? Because Happy Model just dropped like an HD Zero version of the Mobula 7. Would you go for that?
is and it's is it
It's a Mob 7, and
HD?
so it's like 75 mil, and it's got the HD Zero VTX on it. Only they did like a special board that was a little bit lighter than the normal one, so it's like a thinner board, and I think the Beck is only like a 1S or 2S Beck. So
That's pretty cool.
it's about as light as you can get an HD setup, and people have been saying it's more like 480p than the 720p you
That's
get
the
from
thing.
DJI, but it's better than analog. It looks a lot better than analog.
Yeah, anything looks better than analog. Like, and that's why like making videos, even just having like what the tiny whoop sees with analog, it just looks like, especially after you've gone digital, it's pretty bad. You know, it's so I'm like, what's the point? Like, I wouldn't even want to make it into a video, so I'm not even going to fly it. But I do want a better, really small whoop thing that I can go back and do my gorilla whooping.
Just got to go 85 mil, I guess. Chunky whoop, fat whoop.
Yeah, that's the thing. It can't look menacing, or actually, you can't like hurt somebody with it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like when I'm flying
feasible.
around my cats, there's a very definite size. Like beyond a certain size, it's no longer prey, but it's a threat. There's like a cutoff in a certain size range.
I noticed that
Brains
too.
Like, that's
Can't use
scary.
Lego
That's smaller. It's
Christmas
not
pod.
scary.
Yeah, because I used to. So I would fly to the store or whatever, and they would come out. And sometimes I say, "Oh, sorry, my daughter likes." Sometimes I used to say, like, I lost. One of the funnier things is I love saying that I was flying outside and just lost control and like went inside. Just people buy it. You know what I mean? They don't know.
It's totally out of control
fire.
when I was powerlifting that clothes stand over there.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it's the best. I love gorilla women.
This sounds like a good fun, which we sure try, but I feel we should have to read a disclaimer 5 times over just to say maybe consult a lawyer about doing it. Watch out for that. But do it and send the videos and just say you found the SD card or something. That seems to work currently.
Yeah, and I used to think like, you know, it's because it looks like a toy also. It's like, so people can't get really mad. They're like, oh, you know what I mean? You can see it. It's a tiny little like toy drone. So it's not a big deal. But I have heard of a person that flew in a mall and so you have to also know how to like work with people. Like from my graffiti days, I like compared to
You
graffiti.
got a head start.
Yeah, like where you're actually doing something that's like damaging.
You're standing there with a spray can going, oh,
Yeah.
this one comes up.
So to me, it's like the flying a drone that I'm not even touching anything or anyone. It's so less on the bad scale that it's not a problem. But I did hear of someone that was at a mall and they were flying, like gorilla whooping, and the situation escalated. I think maybe they weren't being cooperative with security, whatever. And then police came and he got arrested. And I was like, what can you get arrested for flying a drone? And it's one was like disturbing the peace was one of the things. There's another one about like people gathering, like you can't do certain things when people gather. I don't know. Yeah. So even though like you just never know. So yes, the disclaimer is true. Don't do it unless
Be careful. I'm surprised malls still exist. I think around here most of the malls are shut down. Everything's just like delivered to your house now.
That's true too. I couldn't go gorilla whooping during the COVID thing anyways. Yeah.
Just think of all the empty malls. You can take full-size quads in there and really
Yeah.
fly and have fun.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that'd be so much fun.
Freestyle
Yeah,
mall.
I'd love to do that. Freestyle. Yeah, I've lost one in a mall too. Me and my friend were gorilla whooping, and I was doing some things, and it got stuck in an awning, like really high up on the mall, and it's still there, probably.
Sorry, I thought you meant you'd lost like a 5-inch in a mall, and I'm like,
No.
how? Where?
Yeah, right. Yeah, how is it like flying where you guys are at? Do you have, as far as like ease of finding places to fly, are people cool
I
with?
don't really have any urban environments, so it's all like around some trees. I'm in the middle of the city, but I fly in parks because there's not like bandos around here, and there's certainly no malls. I don't know. These guys are in a different sort of area to me, but
Well, we're further down south, and if you look at Google Maps, there seems to be lots of green areas, but they're not accessible. Any accessible green place is instantly filled up with people picnicking or somebody builds on it. So it's that is the biggest struggle I find is finding a place where you can fly which doesn't seem to offend people. I'm lucky enough to know a couple of farmers that I get access to their land, although sometimes the cows eat my models, which is a bit of a pain.
Really?
But yeah, literally, a cow ate my camera once. But I used to fly in a place really close to home, which was like, it's almost a secret amazing place because only professional dog walkers would go there, and now there's 2,000 houses there instead. So any spot that's like free is going to be taken up at some point by building. And as Steven says, we just don't have bandos because as soon as there's an empty building, it's either like, oh, we should knock it down and rebuild it into some flats, or somebody takes over it and does something else with it, unfortunately.
case in point, one of our regular viewers here, a guy who makes a bunch of Express LRS radios, Failsafe, he was talking the other day about how he was going to go and fly in a bando. And to go and fly in this bando and meet some people, he was going to travel for 5 hours. That gives you an insight into the prevalence of bandos in the United Kingdom.
Wow.
There's not a lot of them.
Yeah.
Where do homeless people do heroin in? Just out in the street? Just kidding. Don't you
Under
need a bando
bridges
to
and
go
things.
The bridges, yeah.
Let's call it bog
In the
rider.
great outdoors.
shop doorways, wherever they can find. Parks.
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah,
have you
lots
guys
of park
seen?
space.
Have you guys seen me and Bot Grinder's movie?
No. What's this?
There was it's Rotor Riot presents Bot Grinder, and we did a little movie with Chet Caver. It was like a actual like little movie that was really dope. It's a really good story, and it was so much fun. But
I managed to miss that one.
it's called
Maybe we'll
Rotor
go
Riot
check that
presents. If you look at it, yeah, it's really well. Chad Capper is like so good at the directing thing. Like that's just what he does, and it's crazy to see people knowing how to pull a thing together. You know what I mean? It's pretty nuts. It's not easy to direct something, I'm sure.
We'll check
Try
it out.
directing something.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just disappearing off to look now. But yeah, we'll go find
Nice.
that.
You found it? Cool.
Should we call it there, guys? Because we're a little bit over
Yeah,
time.
we're running a little bit over. If anyone wants to hang around, we can do the bonus pod. Maybe give us a couple of minutes to swap over streams, but we will. Thank you so much, Zorro.
Well, it was such a pleasure to meet all of you guys. Thank you for having me on.
And you?
Yeah, you were a great guest, man. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, if anybody wants to check out my channel, it's Zorro. You spell it like this. I hope I'm pointing at the right thing. And
ZOROE.
And we'll have a link in our description to Zorro's channel, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already there. And your Instagram as well.
Okay.
Is on there. Good job, Cole. Massive shout out to everyone who donated during the stream. And thank you to all our lovely Patreons. If you are a Patreon and you give more than $3 a month, you can come join us on the bonus podcast. So, do you want to do the outro as well, Stephen?
I can't remember what the outro is. You go.
No. You've been listening to Let's Drone Out, I think. You've been joined by, I don't know, you've been listening to.
All right. You've been listening to Let's Drone Out, and you've been joined by Curry Kitten.
Everybody's favourite.
I thought you were just everyone's favourite at the start of the show, Curry Kitten.
No.
You might not necessarily.
If anything,
you're still saying
I'm more
at this point
favorited.
in time. Thank you. You've been listening to Let's Drone Out, and you've been listening to everyone's more favourite than favourite, Curry Kitten.
Goodbye.
The ever-present, ever-enthusiastic Jack.
I miss Tony.
The ghost of Tony, Jack's gay wife, and Zorro.
Is that what you want?
Thank you very much, Zorro. I'm by myself, Stephen. Thank you to everyone, all our wonderful Patreons and everyone in the chat. See you next time.
Guys. Good night.
Bye.